Hey, it's Mrs. Zimmerman. I'm here for another geometry lesson. So the last video we just did area of a parallelogram. Today we're going to do area of triangles. So we're going to do something very similar. We're going to be talking about how much space does a shape take up, and there's going to be a very easy formula for us to use to figure this out. All right, area of a triangle. Obviously, I've got some triangles here, but let's take a look. This is what we're going to be dealing with, okay? So here's a triangle, and we've got two measurements. We've got a base, and we've got a height, okay? Now, how do I find the area? Again, remember the area is just the amount of space that this shape takes up, okay? So my formula, we use a capital A, and here's what we're going to do. We're going to take base times height, and then we divide by 2. Okay, remember a fraction means to divide. So if I put a divide sign here, or like a fraction, that's saying divide by 2. And you're thinking, okay, why are we dividing by 2? Well, remember our parallelograms? Right? The area of a parallelogram was base times height. But if you split a parallelogram in half, what do you get? 2 triangles, right? So that's why we're dividing by 2. We're taking the base times height of essentially this whole entire parallelogram, right? There's a whole shape here. We just don't see it. But the base and the height are still the same. So we're just going to divide it by 2 in order to find the area of a triangle. So here we go. Find the area of the triangle. Our formula is area equals base times height divided by 2. Okay? So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take the base of my triangle, which is 5 inches. So area equals 5 inches times, what's my height? This distance right here. That's going to be 8 inches. So we're taking 5 inches times 8 inches, and then we're going to divide that by 2. Okay? Now, before we can divide, we're going to have to multiply on the top. So what is 5 times 8? We know that to be 40. What's inches times inches? Inches squared. And then we have to divide that by 2. So what's 40 divided by 2? 20. And then we just carry over our label because there's no label on the bottom, so we just keep inches squared. And so my area of this triangle is 20 inches squared. And that's literally it. It's quite simple. Let's try another one. Okay, my area equals base times height divided by 2. Okay, so my base right here is 12. And notice how we're taking the whole base. We start over here to over here. Okay, and then this is the height. We're just going to use the measurements that they give us. We're going to do 9 meters times 12 meters divided by 2. And it's very important that when you're doing this work, especially on paper, that, oops, that's funny too, that you show all of these steps, because when you start to rush and think you can do it in your head, that's when you're going to make mistakes. Okay, and we're in no hurry here. So the first thing we're going to do is take 9 times 12. And I know 9 times 12 is 108. And I know meters times meters is meters squared. And I'm going to divide this by 2. So if you've got a calculator or you just know that in your head, you can divide that out. And I know that is going to be 54. Keep my label, meters squared. So the area of this triangle is 54 meters squared. And I think I'm just going to do those 2 examples. If you need to watch one again, you can. But let's move on. This time it says to find the missing dimension of the triangle. Ooh, how are we going to do that? Okay, the first thing we need to do is write down our formula. Okay, we're always going to start right there. We've got base times height divided by 2. And we're going to fill in the numbers, okay? Actually, I'm going to write this a little bit smaller so I have some room to work. Base times height divided by 2. Okay, my area is 56. Now, to save me room, I'm not going to write my labels. I just know I'll add it to my answer at the end. So 56 equals my base, which I don't know, so I'm just going to keep it as B, times my height, which again is this distance, 12. And we're going to divide by 2. Now, check it out. Remember last chapter when we did two-step equations and I said you're going to need to know how to do this? This is why. Because, take a look, we need to get B all by itself. So how do we do that? Step 1, we need to get rid of the fraction. Always, always, always get rid of the fraction. And a fraction means to divide. So what's the opposite of divide by 2? We're just going to times by 2. And if I times by 2 on that side, I'm going to times by 2 on this side. Multiply that out. 56 times 2 is 112 equals, we're not done, right? We still have, these cancel, so we still have a B times 12 over here. It doesn't go away. Now we do the second part. We have to still try and get that B all by itself. So what's the opposite of a multiply by 12? We're just going to divide by 12, okay? These 12s cancel, so now all I have left is B equals 112 divided by 12 is 9.33333333 forever and ever. So I'm just going to round to the hundredths place, and I'm going to do 9.33, and my label is millimeters. So I'm going to do 9.33 millimeters equals B. And that's what B equals. Okay? We're going to do another one just like it. Here we go. Okay? Area equals base times height divided by 2. Let's write it down. And then all we're going to do is plug in the numbers. Area over here on my whole triangle is 24. So I'm going to put 24 equals the base, which I don't know, times the height, which is this distance here, which is 6. And I'm going to divide that by 2. Step 1, get rid of the fraction. So how do I do that? I'm going to times by 2 on both sides. Okay? Once I do that, these 2's cancel, and what's left? B times 6. It's not just B, it's not just 6. You have to bring down the whole thing. B times 6 equals, what's 2 times 24? 48. Okay? And once I'm here, I'm ready for step 2, which is to get rid of the 6. So what's the opposite of a times by 6? Divide by 6 and divide by 6. Okay? My 6's are going to cancel. So B equals 48 divided by 6. If you're not sure, you could double check. But I know that that is 8. And my label here is centimeters. So my base is 8 centimeters. Okay, let's do maybe one more like that just to be sure we're all on the same page here. All right, area equals base times height divided by 2. Okay, just plug in your numbers. Area is 175 equals my base, which is 20, times my height, which I don't know, divided by 2. So step 1, get rid of the fraction, which means we're going to times by 2 on both sides. The 2's cancel, so now I have 20 times h equals 175 times 2 is 350. Okay? Then step 2 is to get the h by itself. So how am I going to do that? Divide by 20 and divide by 20. My 20's cancel. And my height is going to be, divide that by 20, 17.5 feet. And that's how you do that, boys and girls. Find the missing dimension. The next thing is we're now going to look at the area of composite figures. Okay, this is a term you need to know. A composite figure. And basically what is it? It's a figure made up of other shapes. So let me show you what I'm talking about. Okay, we've got a shape like this. It says find the area of the composite figure. You're like, what? How would I figure out the area of this? Well, I've given you two area formulas, right? The area of a parallelogram or rectangle is area equals base times height. And then the area of a triangle is base times height divided by 2. So if I wanted to find the area of this whole shape, what could I do? Break it into smaller shapes, right? I see a break right here. I see a big rectangle and a little rectangle. And if we find the area of both of those, add them together, that would give us the area of the whole shape. So, let's get to work. What do we got? Our first rectangle I'm going to do in red. Okay? And I know the area of a rectangle is base times height. So my base here is 16. Even though it's at the top, my base is still 16. Times my height, which is right here, 16. Okay? So what is 16 times 16? 256. 256 inches squared is the area of the big rectangle. Now let's do the area of the little rectangle. Okay, same thing. Area equals base times height. Okay, what is the base? The base is 8 times the height, which is this distance right here. But what is that distance? We don't know. So we're going to have to use other measurements to figure it out. And what I see is that this distance right here, this height, if I drag this straight across, is the same as this, right? Okay. Now I see that this distance here is 8. See that? And over here it says the whole thing is 16. So if this much is 8, that means this much is 8. And if the whole thing is 16, what's the bottom half going to be? Also going to be 8. 16 minus 8 is 8. So that carries over directly to what's my height? My height is 8. So I'm going to do 8 times 8 is 64 inches squared. So I know this is 64. I know this is 256. If I want to find the total area, I'm just going to add those two together. 256 plus 64 is 320 inches squared. And that's how you're going to do that. Okay, so what you're going to do for a composite figure is take a shape and break it into smaller shapes. So let's do this one. Okay, this is a funky looking one. I see two shapes here. Okay, if this was me, I would draw the line right here, right? On top I have a square, and on the bottom I have a parallelogram. So let's start with the square, because that's easy. That's going to be what I do in red, okay? For a square or a rectangle, it's area equals base times height. And this is pretty easy, right? My base right here is 9, and my height is 9. So we're just going to do 9 times 9, which is 81 feet squared. Easy peasy. All right, next one. Down here now, we have a parallelogram, right? For a parallelogram, same thing, area equals base times height. So the base of my parallelogram is this distance right here, but it doesn't have a number. But this distance right here, from here to here, is the same as here to here. And if this is 9, what can we assume this down here is? Also 9, right? So my base is going to be 9 times, well, now we have to figure out what our height is. The height is going to be this distance right here, from here to there. Okay, let's think about it. I know this whole distance is 14, and I know here to here is 9. How do I know that? It says right here. So if the whole thing is 14, this little bit is 9, how much is going to be left for down here? What's 14 minus 9? 5. So what's my height? It's going to be 5. So we're going to do 9 times 5, which is 45 feet squared. Now that I have the area of both shapes, we can add them together. 81 plus 45 is 126 feet squared. You got to keep that label. All right. Let's see what the next one is. If we should, oh, we should do one with a triangle. Okay, so here's what we got: a triangle and a rectangle. And here's where I would draw my line, is right here, right? Does everyone see the rectangle? Right here? Let's do that first. Area equals base times height. My base is 20, and my height is 12. 20 times 12 is going to be 240 inches squared. Now we're going to move over to the triangle, which might be the more tricky part. But not really, honestly, because what? We know the formula, area equals base times height divided by 2. So my base is going to be this whole distance. So we're going to have to do some calculating. I know from here to here is 12. I know this bit is 2, and I know this bit is 2. So what's 12 plus 2 plus 2? 16. So my whole base is, all that combined, is 16. Times what's my height? Well, they give you that right here. You don't have to do any math for that one. We're just going to do 16 times 12 divided by 2. 16 times 12 is 192. And then we're going to divide that by 2. And we're going to get 96 inches squared. But not my final answer, right? I've got to take 240 plus 96. So my area equals 240 plus 96, which is 336 feet. Oh no, inches, I'm sorry. Inches squared. And that would be the final answer. Okay, find the area of a, oh, this is the same thing. So we're just going to end there. So to sum up today's lesson, we learned, again, 3 things, just like last time. We figured out what is the area of a triangle. We figured out how to find missing dimensions, so that'd be 2. And then the third thing we did was area of a composite shape, which is just adding 2 areas together to find the area of one shape. And that's everything, all right? Thank you, good luck.